All right, so the topic for today's Zoom is police brutality. Um, the whole reason I wanted to start this Zoom was because of everything that was going on in 2020 with all of the police brutality that was finally being shown in the media. I was just feeling like really helpless. Like, what can I do now? Like, I know I'm gonna dedicate my career to, sorry, admitting other people, but I know I'm gonna dedicate my career to these issues, but what can I do right now? Like, while I don't have maybe the money to do what I want to do or like the education to do what I want to do. So that's why I wanted to start these Zooms because oh, people coming in.
Hello,
Please mute
podcast.
yourself.
To listen to.
Can you mute yourself? That's my brother. But yeah,
Sorry.
that's why oh no, you're good. That's why I decided to start these Zooms was because it's just a good way to like be able to vent about everything that's going on. And I feel like in the last couple of years, we've still seen like a lot of police brutality incidents, and it just feels good to be able to talk it out because it's not easy always seeing Black people murdered in the media or being mistreated in the media. So I feel like we should have a place to like vent about it. So yeah, that was why these Zooms even got created. And I wanted to bring that topic back around because it's always going to be relevant for the Black community, I feel like. But yeah, Tatiana, did you have anything to add?
Hi. Not really, because it's kind of going back full circle to where you began with this. So I thought it was a good idea for a topic choice, and it just seems always relevant. And with what I am talking about today, sometimes race doesn't even have anything to do with it. It's just policemen thinking that they have such a higher authority over citizens that they can just do whatever they want. So I think it's going to be really interesting to hear what people have to say. And yeah, let's get started.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up my notes really quick. Let's see. Oh yeah, before we also get started, I wanted to ask guys what you thought because we already have pins and stickers, but my mom had an idea of maybe making like a little bit of merch and then we can use the money and actually like put it towards a good cause for the Black community. So if you guys think that's like a good idea, please like private message us. Like you can even private message me during the Zoom, or if you have like ideas of what we should make the merch look like, then that would be great. I see a thumbs up already. So yeah, that would be, I mean, I would definitely rock the Speak Your Truth logo. I always get questions about like my stickers and stuff. So I think it's a really good way to like promote what we're trying to do. So yeah, that might be coming next. Let's hope we can figure that out. And then also I wanted to say sorry because the last Zoom is not going to be on YouTube like I always promise. I guess I didn't have enough space left in my OneDrive when I saved it, so it just didn't save correctly. This time I made sure I deleted anything extra out of my OneDrive, so we will have this one up because there is going to be space for it. But yeah, the last week we just talked about, or not last week, last month we just talked about abortion and women's rights, everything like that, because obviously that's an important topic for Black women. But yes, this one will definitely be up. And then before we dive into the police brutality topic, I wanted to talk about some like basically the law field, because I feel like when we talk about these like really sad things, it's important to have a solution also. And there's many different solutions that we could come up with for like police brutality and injustices towards Black people. But I feel like one of the really good ones is being involved in politics and being involved in the legal field. There's barely any Black people out here, at least in law school. Like my friend, he went to Idaho to be fair, but he's like probably the only Black student in his classroom. And it just makes me sad because I feel like we're needed the most in the field, and that's how we're going to make the biggest change. And out here, we're starting to slowly see in the legal field that they're really trying to find that diversity to try to make changes out here, because the prison system in Spokane is horrible compared to the West Side. So I just wanted to talk about as maybe making sure we are like paying attention to the news. It does suck, and we need breaks for sure. Like we can't just watch all of this stuff all the time without being dragged down. But I do think it's important to stay aware and to stay educated on these things and maybe consider like doing something in the legal field, because at the end of the day, I think that's how we're going to make the most change we can, is through policy changes and through laws. And right now, as we all know, Black people vote in low numbers. So I feel like if we really change our political participation, that's what's going to help at least start to change things. My mentor, like I said before, he goes to Idaho, and he's already shared like a lot of experiences that he's had trying to become a Black lawyer out here. And he's like one of the filthiest lawyers. Like, he's going to be one of the filthiest lawyers. He's still in law school. But at our job that we're at right now, he's argued, I think, like 20 cases, and he's won like 18, which is like unheard of in our career path. And I just feel like he never gets his flowers being a Black man. Like, I feel like he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. So I'm hoping that at one point he can talk on our Zoom to just share his experiences and why he thinks it's important for us to be involved in these issues, because he definitely has like a really good success story, and I want that to be more known, and I want more people to like try to go into this field, because I know it's really hard because this field is not meant for us. Like the LSAT even is actually completely against Black people. Like, they want it to be hard for us to become lawyers, but I think that's why it's really important that we do. So with that being said, yes, today's topic is police brutality. So for the speakers, I'll go first. Then we'll have Zaira from, me and her were in BSU together. And then we'll have Tatiana, and then we'll have AJ. And I also met him through Black Student Union, and he's talked before. So I really wanted to talk about just the increase of instances I've seen of police brutality this year. Like, the one that really, really sits with me still in my soul is like the Jalen Walker situation. And that one really just sits with me because of the fact that he was shot 60 times over something that wasn't even a violent situation. He was fleeing a police officer 60 times. I just can't get that out of my head, because it's like, okay, obviously at that point, you're not shooting to stop him or any of that. If you're shooting 60 times, what are you really trying to do? So that one just like made me sick to my stomach, and it made me realize like people are trying to make it seem like we are like so woke now after the George Floyd situations and stuff like that. And I do feel like people's eyes are definitely more open, but I don't think we're as far as we like to say. And I've also seen a lot in the media, like, oh, police officer gets caught for talking about how he wants to kill Black people and this and that. And it just makes me really sad, but it doesn't make me surprised, because this is like the type of thing that's embedded into our policing system. And like people are like, well, not all cops are bad. And I agree, not all cops are bad, but all it takes is that one bad apple and that one cop to not say anything about what he's doing. So that's why I think that even the fact that we have some bad cops is a real reflection of like the system as a whole. And at my little, what's it called, race equity event, we had like this race equity event at my job, which I was really happy about, like, because like, once again out here it's like unheard of. But this lawyer, he was saying, he's this Black lawyer, he was saying how our generation is really not looking to fix the system. We're looking to completely break the system apart and rebuild a new one. And he thinks that's what it's going to take to like actually change things. And I agree. Like, I think our generation is the one that's not just like, okay, we need to fix this. It's like, we need to restart, because it's embedded with like these racist ideals, and can't ever completely erase them. I don't think, like, it's just always going to be there from how America started, you know? So I really agreed with that. And I hope our generation is the generation that's going to actually break things apart and change things, because I know I'm determined to do something before I leave the earth. And I know like all of these people in my pool feel the same as me. So I'm like, it gives me hope. And I wanted to also bring in a little bit of my perspective living out in Spokane, because as you guys know, I always talk shit about it. It's a predominantly white area. There's a whole lot of racism that goes on over here. Like I just said, the prison system is horrible. So a situation that's just happened to me, because I've never like personally experienced police brutality. Like, I've seen racism with the police, bias, all that, but I've never seen like a situation of police brutality, or like a situation where the police already come like super aggressive, basically. Because this isn't like a brutality situation, but it's just how the police officer approached. And it just reminded me of why like we as Black people are so scared of the police. So me and my friend were driving around out here. And by the way, my lawyer friend, he says he gets pulled over out here twice a week. He drives a really nice car, really expensive car, Black man. He gets pulled over out here twice a week. And each time he gets pulled over, there's no reason for it. They never give him a ticket, anything like that. So, I mean, that just says a lot about how it is out here. If you're a Black man and you're driving a nice car, they're going to try to pull you over for something. So I always try to warn my brother out here, like, just really be careful, because the police, they're different. Back home, they are a lot nicer. They'll work with you. Over here, it's not that, and they come with that racist mindset. So I was driving with my friend, and as soon as we get pulled over just for like a speeding ticket, this bald white police officer comes up to the car and he's like, hands on steering wheel, just like screaming, already coming at us like hella aggressive. And all we're doing is sitting like in the car, and he's screaming, put your hands up, put your hands so where I can see them. And just that like shook me enough to where I was scared, because I'm like, oh, he's already like coming at us like this over a speeding ticket. Like, this is insane. So just having me, I know I have privilege being a person that is lighter skinned, but it really made me realize how careful we actually have to be out here. We have to be careful how we drive. We have to be careful how we talk to the police. And it really upsets me that like Black people have this added pressure when we want to just drive somewhere. Like if we want to drive to the store, we have this added pressure, and especially out here. I don't know why the police are so aggressive out here. And I think people are starting to notice and trying to push for changes, but it does kind of make me like disheartened, because it seems like it's taking a really long time out here. Like we're way behind the times over here. So I can't even imagine how it would be in like Idaho, where my friend is, because Spokane is like a muted version of Idaho, I feel like. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about, is just the situations that I've seen in the media, and then also experiencing things in real life out here on this side. It's definitely, like Tatiana and me were saying, it's always relevant and it's always scary for me. And that's really what I want to work on when I do become a lawyer, is making these changes so that people can't get away with this stuff anymore. And I did see like a lot of people's murderers are getting convicted, like Breonna Taylor's. And I'm really happy to see that there is some type of justice, but it just feels like it's not enough, because it feels like we shouldn't be having these situations anymore. And it's, I don't know about you guys, but it really brings me down. So I'm glad I have this platform to be able to talk about it, and talk about how scared I am when I have to drive around with my brother or my Black friends. If we're all in a group out here, it is like a scary place to be. So yeah, that's all for what I was going to say. Did anybody have anything to add to that? Oh, I think I see something in the chat. Oh, somebody was talking about the sweaters earlier. Sorry. Somebody said yes to the merch and stuff like that. But all right, if nobody has anything to add, then I think it would be Z next.
Hi, my name is Zaira. I do attend Eastern Washington University as an upcoming junior. And like she said, we met through BSU. We both are part of BSU. I kind of just wanted to talk about like de-escalation and why police brutality is more targeted towards people of color. And I believe that the news media has a big kind of problem in this too, as they do target people of color more than white people, I guess. During the Black Lives Matter movement, all you see was kind of Black people tearing down Nike stores or malls. You never saw the Black people getting together, rally up, holding hands, and actually being nice police. And so I feel like police, quote, if you can't see me right now, they're afraid of people of color because of the media and what they put out. They never put out kind of uplifting things, like Bernice was saying earlier, like the lawyer who beat 18 cases out of 20 cases he had, or any African-American kids who are upcoming like Twitch streamers who are giving back to their community. Never like that. It's always something negative. It's always a murderer, or like I said, the Black Lives Matter protests when they were throwing stuff at the malls, anything like that. I feel like the news media does have a big play in that, as in why police brutality goes up, because obviously cops have power trips. And so when they see that on the news, they get mad and angry, like, oh, I'm supposed to protect our country and I can't do that because these people are here. And I feel like power trips are kind of what ties along in that too. And I also want to talk about the de-escalation trainings that they said they put in place. And I feel like cops, well, I think a lot of people feel like cops should be de-escalating instead of killing. And that's what they were saying during the whole Black Lives Matter movement, saying there's more de-escalation trainings, there's more this and that, but we haven't seen anything because ever since the Black Lives Matter movement, it still has been going up. There has been a lot of changes in like laws, no-knock warrants, but it still has been going up as I see Black men and women still getting killed by police. And I can bring up like Rodney King, for example. In 1991, he got beaten by police because he was driving while intoxicated, and he was also on drugs. They pulled him out of his car and beat the crap out of him. Instead of de-escalating the situation, they could have used the taser. They could have just put handcuffs on him, but they just beat him and just left it at that. And I feel like that's over extreme, as they keep saying that these de-escalation trainings are working, but it keeps getting worse as it went from beating to actually shooting us, which is really scary. And I feel like when we say defund the police, we're not saying let's have less cops out on the street. We're saying let's defund these BMWs, these Teslas they're driving, because it's really unacceptable. Let's put into more trainings as how to actually de-escalate situations. Let's put in more non-kind of killing weapons, as in like batons, more tasers, instead of having these guns and everything like that to actually shoot us. And I feel like people do take that wrong way as they think that, oh, we just need less cops and then more crime goes up. No, we just want more training for these cops, because every time you pull somebody over, you shouldn't be shooting them. It should always be de-escalating. And then they said, I think I saw an argument on Twitter where it says like psyche evals come in hand too. How like they're just scared because they might have kind of a mental issue. That ties in having like psych people in the car with officers when arriving to the scene, or having those trainings for officers to actually de-escalate that situation with that individual, no matter what the individual is on, either it's drugs or alcohol, or they just have something wrong with them. You should never have an excuse to shoot them, no matter what. And I feel like that comes in hand. I think that's all I have in my notes. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to add on to that?
I was just gonna say, like, I really agree with you because, for example, like, think about like I said, the Jalen Walker situation. That could have been de-escalated. There was no reason to, like you said, shoot 60 times. Or even if they're gonna shoot, shouldn't they know how to shoot, not to kill? Like, I just don't understand how that's still an issue, like you said, because it's supposed to be getting better, but it really doesn't seem like it. Maybe they're just getting more pissed off because of that power hungry thing that you guys are talking about. I don't even know.
Anybody else? Well, thank you. That's all I had to say.
Thank you so much. See, that was really helpful because, yeah, I think people do get the wrong idea when people say defund the police, but they're not looking at it like the right way. There's other things you can take away that don't take away from like the serve and protect aspect. And I think that's what everybody assumes when we say defund the police. So for sure. Anybody else have any last thoughts to add?
Me?
Rachel.
I do.
Oh, Rachel. Okay, we'll go Rachel, then we'll go Victor.
Okay. So when I first started hearing defund the police, I like didn't really understand it. I like obviously I understand it now, but I feel like the people who are like Blue Lives Matter and things like that use that as a way to like kind of warp the thing to be like, oh, this is what they want, blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of what I started hearing. And I was like, that can't be right. Cause like everyone that I knew and I talked to were like, defund the police, it's a good thing. And then I would turn around and they'd be like, they're trying to take protection away from us. And so I was like, it was harder to like get the full picture of why we needed to defund the police with different like perspectives of like just uneducated people telling other uneducated people how it like what it meant. So that was just my 2 cents on defund the police, I guess. But I do agree with defund the police.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that's definitely true with anything. Like, people are so quick to talk these days without doing the research, or they're so quick to like not believe somebody else's experience. And it's like, if you're not a person of color, then how can you say you don't believe this is how it is for me with the police? You have to trust my experience for what it is, because you're not in my skin, you're not in my shoes, you know? So I definitely could see that. Thank you so much, Rachel. And Victor?
I was gonna agree with the whole thing about the media, how they like flip the narrative about like, oh, Black Lives Matter was like violent, like that's all they're known for. And then I was gonna add that they like push this narrative that the police is already defunded, even though it's like not. So it's like they're like, oh, these liberal cities already defunded the police. That's why they have all these things going on. And it's like, that's not the truth. You guys are just like spreading false information. And so that's why a lot of people like who like support Blue Lives Matter are like, sorry, I always do this pause when I talk, but what these people who support Blue Lives Matter only focus on what's like supports their like point of view of like how defund the police means. So that's what I wanted to say.
And I did want to go off a little bit what he said. It's like this incident that was happening in Seattle where police weren't really on the roads no more after the Black Lives Matter protest in downtown Seattle. And so there was this whole thing talking about how it was mostly Republicans saying like, oh, this is why we need the police, because all this Black Lives Matter movement going on. And I guess the police weren't really out just due to all the men that was killed by Seattle police and Tacoma police. And so I think people thought that we pushed the narrative to have no more police on like, I don't know, on the roads, but I think they were just backing off and trying to like hide because of what was happening in Seattle and Tacoma. And so just to put a little bit more on that.
I'm so sorry. My freaking thing just dropped out, of course, because like I said, the Wi-Fi is bad. So I'll ask you about that later, Z, what you just said, because yeah, my thing dropped off for that part. But anybody have anything to add to what Z said? No. Okay, also on the Blue Lives Matter topic, we all know here, I'm pretty sure everybody that's on the Zoom knows like Blue Lives Matter is just hella pointless. I mean, blue isn't a life, so it never made sense to begin with. And out here, I can't tell you how many trucks I see drive by with the Blue Lives Matter flag or just some like racist type of flag, literally. And it really just irritates my soul to see these things, because like that's how a lot of people think out here. That's how a lot of the students think. They'll straight up say some ignorant stuff without even, well, I feel like they do really know. I think they know that it's ignorant, but they act like, what? I didn't know that was bad to say. And I'm just like, how do you even think like that? That's what I do miss about the West Side is 9 times out of 10, when you run into people on the West, like they're not going to be as like conservative, I think, as over here. And it's not even about being conservative or liberal to me. It's really about human rights. So just the fact that so many people have those flags and think like that is really frustrating. I feel like I've gotten a lot of like looks about my tattoo, my Black Lives Matter tattoo. Luckily, I found a place of work that doesn't think like that. So I'm really happy that there are like spaces out here, but it's hard being out here with people that do say Blue Lives Matter all the time or just think really ignorant. And yeah, I was going to say I definitely agree with the media aspect too, because a lot of people out here, they just follow the stereotypes that they see in like movies and shows and stuff like that. And it can be really frustrating because like they don't actually want to learn anything. We have another person joining. But any last thoughts before Tatiana speaks on her points? Maddie, can you mute yourself?
That's my little princess.
Thanks. All right. If nobody else had anything, Tatiana, you good, girl?
Okay. So my I don't like this angle. Sorry, this is gonna be even weirder. What I wanted to bring up was basically like 2 incidences that happened I think like last week. And the first one was in Arkansas. And it was these 3 officers. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I'll try and share like the video on our Instagram if I can like share it to our story. But it was these 3 officers, and they had this white guy who apparently, I think, threatened what do you call it? A worker, a cashier person at a gas station. I don't know what they said specifically, but I guess they threatened her, and then they like went to the like in another town, and then they went to like another town, and the police found the guy. And so like they only show the part where the police are literally beating this guy up, and the police say that before that the guy had like tried to attack them or assault them and like punched one of the guys. Which, okay, yes, like that, don't do that. But the way they handled it afterwards, like not even their own police department can justify it, because in the video, like it's so bad. It's just like 30 straight seconds. And the 30 seconds is just still a half of a portion of what was going on before that. But it was just like there's 3 guys like on him. The middle guy isn't doing anything except holding him down, and then the 2 that are on the by his head and by his feet. The one by his head is literally like punching him repeatedly, and at one point he picks his head up and slams it into the ground, and he's just like beating him up. And then the guy at the other end of his feet is kicking him in the stomach and in the groin and like kneeing him, and basically he like stomps on him at one point, and it's like it's so bad. And that's, I also agree with the whole de-escalation thing, because like there's like that is unnecessary force. Like there is, yes, if they're gonna assault you or like attack you or whatever, like you have a reason to use force, but not that excessively. And those 3 officers are now on leave or they're suspended with pay at the moment. And I just think that's like a example. First of all, it's an example of police brutality, because what the hell. But I think it's also just an example of like the police think that they can just like, they just feel like they're so much higher than everyone, that like if that girl had not been recording, they literally would have just kept going. Because at one point in the video, she's like, hey, stop, he needs medicine or something like that. And then all the cops kind of just stop, realize she's recording, and one points at her, and then she stops recording. But it's like, had she not done that, or had it not been caught on camera, or had she not said anything, like who even knows? Like, I guess one of his eyes was gouged. He had a bunch of lacerations to his face. He had a lot of bruising. His eyes were swollen. Like they really beat him up. And I don't want to say for no reason, because there was a reason to use force, but like to that extent, like that, you're just doing too much. Like for what are you getting out of that at that point? Like you already had him down on the ground, and you're like his hands are already behind his back. Like he can't do anything else at that point. So literally to just sit there and gang up on him, like that is just, that's so ridiculous to me. And the fact that it was also a white guy too, like it's not even about race at a certain point. It's just the police really think that they're just so high and mighty that they could just get away with things like that. And then another thing that happened was here in Everett. My mom listens to the police scanner because she used to live in Southeast Everett by Mariner, which is like really bad now. And she just recently moved to Mill Creek, so she doesn't have to deal with any of the things that she did. But I guess there was a shooting that happened over there. And I'm so gonna butcher what was said, because she told me once and I was just like, oh my gosh, but I didn't I didn't call her beforehand to reiterate it to me. But what had happened was that the officers had called all of the all units, the medics, the fires, other area units, to come to the scene, because some guy just got shot multiple times. And before they had before the medics and the fire arrived, one of the police officers just gets on the scanner thing and was like, all the units, they don't have to come anymore. And I'm totally butchering what he said, because it was way more professional than that. But I don't speak the lingo. But he was like, all units don't have to arrive. And the chief of police got on and he was like, why are you saying that? And he's like, well, the suspect's dead. And the chief of police was like, well, can you confirm that? And he's like, it's pretty obvious. And then And the chief of police was like, okay, well, fire doesn't have to come, but medics still need to be on scene. And so the medics come, and the medics get on the scanner, and they literally are like, he has a pulse. We're going to get him to, I think they took him to Harborview. And I just thought that was crazy, because it's like this police officer who literally is not a medic. And like, yeah, I think they're trained on some things, but he's not a medic. Like he wasn't certified in that, is literally just looking at this guy bleeding out on the ground, isn't going to get any confirmation that he's dead or alive or breathing or literally anything. And is just like, yeah, no, it's pretty obvious that he's dead, so we don't have to do anything about it. Like that guy could have bled out right then and there had they just listened to this officer. But I'm glad the chief of police was like, dude, what the hell? And still made, I mean, the medics were going to have to come regardless, but I'm glad that he still reiterated to them that like, no, don't listen to this one officer who, my mom said he had like the tone of he just did not care when he was saying it. Like, yeah, the guy's it's obvious the guy's dead. Like he just literally did not care about his life or what was going on. And he was just like, yeah. And I think that's another example of just this guy thinks because he's a policeman, like he can just call shots all of a sudden. Like, no, like you literally, like if this guy survives and has any type of like long-term trauma or like anything wrong with his body, like he could literally sue. And I hope he's okay. Like, I don't know what the situation was. Everett has a lot of shootings, but like, I hope he's okay. And I hope he doesn't suffer anything like that. But like, if he had like brain trauma or like anything like that, like that is just horrible. And I hope some people, like a lot of people listen to the police scanner and a lot of people record it too. And I hope someone recorded that little session, because like that really could be used in the court of law at some point if anything were to happen to that guy, because that is just crazy and ridiculous. And I just think that these police officers just need training in the fact that you guys are not literally just all high. You are not God. Like, I feel like that should just be like a thing that they teach you in school. Like, you are not, like, you're not that guy, pal. And I mean, because even my best friend's mom keeps trying to get my husband to join the firefighters because they need more firefighters of color and like more people on board or whatever, which is great. And she even mentioned, she was like, and when they arrive, like people are happy about it. Like saying that when firefighters arrive anywhere, like people are excited, like not excited because obviously something happened, but it's not like you're scared and you're not put in a situation and you don't feel like something might escalate more than what it needs to. And I mean, for her to even realize that, like that's, it's just sad, because she used to be a commissioner for the fire. She's like she is God. She is a high, very powerful woman. And for her to even recognize that and even say it to me out loud, like that means a lot, and not really in a good way. So yeah, that was my whole thing.
Anybody had anything to add to Tatiana's points? Again, I like how her and Z are talking about that, the power trip that cops have a lot of the time. Like sometimes they just be dicks for no reason when they're coming up to you, like thinking they're really, like you said, all that. And I'm just like, okay, you're supposed to be an officer of the law. Like you're not supposed to be over here like bossing people around doing whatever. You're supposed to be an officer of the law. So you're supposed to follow the law too. And like, right. You're not above it. Like, I think Z was going to add something.
Okay. When I just like how she talked about the woman recording and how like thank God she was there, because if she wasn't there wouldn't be no proof. But I think Arizona just passed a law. I think it's like HB 2319, and it's just basically stating like you cannot record within 8 feet of the police, like in police activity, after a verbal warning. And I feel like now, like it's kind of taking our rights away, as like we cannot record when the police is being, is interrogating somebody. And I feel like as soon as that goes in effect, and I think that's September, other states are going to fall behind, because you know how like some most like Republican states or most conservative states will fall behind other conservative states. So I feel like that's going to get slowly taken away too. As we won't be able to record anything no more. And I feel like that's going to be a big problem coming up, especially with elections and everything like that.
That's really scary. That's a really scary thing to think about, because if it wasn't for recordings, like a lot of these movements wouldn't even be happening. But okay, I'm going to have to look into that. That's really concerning.
Seriously, because like she said, that's our own right. And what are you trying to hide? Why do you have an issue with people recording? Like, they did that for a reason, obviously. Doesn't surprise me that it's Arizona either, because they'd be trying to do some scandalous stuff with voting and Black people too. But that is just like terrifying to think that we could be headed in that direction. Same with the abortion shit. Like, how are we doing this? Like, how are we going backwards?
And then going back to that cutting point, and then there was like some arguments like, oh, there's body camera. It's like, police, let's keep it real. A lot of police turn off their body cameras. So there's not a lot of evidence there. Like, and it's in police hands. Like, and so no matter what, that's still concerning. Even if there's body cameras or not, like, they can edit it, they can delete it. They always have, they always will. Like, and so that's really concerning for us. Citizens can't record police activity.
Yeah, no, for real. Like, seriously, I'm trying to look into that too now, because that has me really sitting over here contemplating. Like, that is like you said, how we've caught all of these things. Like, now that the media is such a big thing, that's how we're actually holding these police accountable, since they all want to have each other's backs all the time. So that can't be okay. This is why I want to maybe move to a conservative place like that, just because I know there's more need there. Like, I'm really blessed to live in somewhere like Washington, but it makes me really sick that these really conservative places feel like they have the right to do that, especially when a lot of the time Black people is a big part of the population in these places. So I think Rachel also had something.
I definitely agree that, like, because government likes to do that, take a little bit at a time. But I feel like we can see a positive part of this law, because I remember we had a talk with our, like, he was an ex-police officer from Florida, and he was working in our school. He was like the security guy. And like, he was very nice. He said he wouldn't like mind when people were recording, because like, he was actually a good police officer. Sorry. And he said that like sometimes people recording would get too close and they would kind of get in the way. And 8 feet is like, that's pretty close. So like, now that it's a law, if you're 10 feet away and you're recording, you could be like, you can't stop me from recording because I'm farther than 8 feet away. Right. So it's like, hopefully they don't like make that law like more intense, take more feet away, or like you can't record at all. Hopefully they don't do that. If they did try, I feel like a lot of people would get really mad and that would like cause a problem for like the government and the police and everything. So hopefully, you know, they've taken a lot more than a few feet before, so I wouldn't be surprised. But at the same time, it's a law now, and it's like, I can actually take a video. I'm farther away from you enough that it's like, you can't stop me, right? I mean, I'm hoping, I'm trying to see a positive view of this, because it's kind of shitty.
I think I totally understand what she's saying, but I think the more it's a bigger picture, it's them stripping rights away from us. Like, I understand, like, yeah, we're getting too close, but it's just like the way they're stripping our rights is crazy. Like, if we let this slide, then something else is going to get taken away. Then something else is going to get taken away. Like, we can't just say, oh, this is fine for now. Like, but then next time something else gets taken away. Oh, that's fine for now. It's only small. Like, they're doing it little by little. And that's what's kind of more irritable about it, is because it keeps happening. And then we keep shrugging it off. And we keep saying, well, this is reasonable. Well, it's really not reasonable, because next is going to be 10 feet. Next is going to be, we can't record a police at all, or we go to jail. Like, it just keeps getting bigger. And that's what's happening every year. We get laws put in place for Black people to make us safe. And then bam, here's a law. They tweak it a little bit, so they make it look like it's okay, and then place that law, and then it passes, and then it blows up. And so we're just gonna have to find out in September how it works throughout the year. But I just feel like it's still taking rights away from us little by little.
Yeah, I definitely could see both. Like, I see what you're saying too, Rachel. Like, it's, if the intentions behind it didn't change, you know, then it would be like, okay, we could deal with it. But as Z's saying, we know that's what's going to happen, because it happens over and over again. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Z. Tatiana, since this was on your point, did you have anything to add before we put Rachel back in?
Sorry, I was trying to just take in that everything everyone had said. No, I guess my last point that I want to say is like, I just hope, I mean, we can all only hope that like de-escalation gets taught better, I guess. And then I also I'm not sure where this whole thing, I mean, I guess the whole thing of police officers being like so higher up, I guess maybe came from like citizens of like, oh, they stop crime and they do this and they do that. But then it's like that kind of just went to their head. And at a certain point, I feel like that, like I had said earlier, like that just needs to be taught that like you're also like nobody's bulletproof. You're also just a normal person. You're just a regular citizen that is more trained in basically de-escalating situations. Like that's kind of the whole point for me as a police officer. Like you're not supposed to make it worse. Like you're supposed to be there to help. So the fact that they like really just aren't, like what is even the point of a police officer at this point? Like it's just things I feel like we could just do, and then everything is just going to be chaos at that point if they like really were to take away police officers, because things would be, you know. But if we all got training, I don't know, in like high school or like throughout school, like just little things of like how to be a good citizen and like whatnot, like if they really instilled that, like maybe something could be different. Because I feel like, because police officers also get such little training, really. Because I think hairstylists have more hours of training than police officers do. And I mean, that is also just ridiculous. And I know that now I'm going on a whole tangent, but I know police officers get like training like throughout like every year, like they have to go through something, but obviously it's not enough, or whatever they're teaching them, like they just let them slide, I feel like, even if they were to fail. Like, even though this kind of has nothing to do with anything, but I'm kind of bringing it up because it does have something to do with what I just said. But like how I failed Spanish twice and I had like 48% like both years, and my teachers just bumped it up to the 50% so I could pass. Like I feel like that's what they do with some of these police officers, is to just bump them up so they can just continue on in the program when they really aren't like certified or really qualified to do anything. Because getting shot 60 times, like for what? Literally for what? Like that. Why? And then slamming some guy's head in the ground for why? Like, why are we doing that? Like, it just really irritates me. But God, Rachel, you have something to say?
To be honest, I forgot that my hand was still up there.
You're good.
Oh, looks like somebody else though. Serenity. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Excuse me, sorry. I was just gonna say, yeah, I agree with what everybody's saying. And I heard someone told me a statistic like not that long ago, and it was like 60% of police officers self-reported that like they've been involved in domestic violence. And it's like, and I just looked it up that a couple of years ago it was 40% compared to 10% in the general population. So it's like these are regular people that we're expecting to like have all this power and control, and for there not to be any effect. And it's crazy that people still think police brutality isn't like a serious issue, because there's so many like there's so much evidence for it that it's like a serious thing, and that you can't just trust these regular people who all make mistakes and who clearly don't take the time to prepare themselves for this type of position. We just keep letting them have like guns and all this power to walk around and like make regular people victims every day who don't deserve to be, like 100% of the time, because all lives, like every single life matters, but specifically Black lives, because they're taken advantage of all the time. So yeah,
I think that's a good point that you brought up, that the 60% self-reported being in domestic violence, because there's a lot of movies kind of highlight that, like when the wife is getting beat up or like something, but it's like, oh, who's gonna believe her because her husband's a police officer? Like, who's she gonna report it to, or how, you know? Like, I never even thought of that, but that's like real and true. And like I was saying, like they are just regular ass people. Like, I don't know why we make them so high and freaking mighty.
And that's like self-report. Imagine how many just decided to lie about it when they were asked. So
I feel like one of the reasons too that like police feel like, one is what Tatiana was saying, we put them on like this pedestal, like they can do no wrong since they are officers of the law. But also we give them like a lot of jobs that I think we shouldn't. Like for example, right now, trying to like mental health people in cars with them when it's like a mental health call. But that's just started being a thing because we were realizing that they don't really know how to handle people with mental health issues, which is fair. That's not their job. So like, I feel like we put too many jobs for them to have, and that makes their head like bigger, and they feel like they have the authority to do all these different things because of that also. But yeah, I really think we all need to stop making the police God. That's what we're really coming to the conclusion of right now, is like they're not, like they're regular just like everybody else. They're gonna mess up, they're racist, like it's gonna happen. And I'm just like scared about the whole media thing because that is how we're catching them a lot of the time. And I hope that that right doesn't get stripped away from us even more, because that's the way that we hold them accountable. Like, I don't know if you guys seen all the things in the media about all these police saying these racist things. Like, this is real, this is happening, and it's not just like far away, it's in your backyard too. Like, that's what people need to realize. It's not just like something far away on the news, you know, this is happening everywhere. But yeah, I think that's why I can't wait to be a lawyer, because I can't wait to, you know, if I get pulled over, just have all that, just yes, I know this, you can't tell this, what are you talking about? Like, I just want to have that. I cannot wait, because I'm really about to be lighting these officers up for real. But any other last points on Tatiana's point, or any of the points that were made, because there was a lot of good ones. All right, stop it. Sorry, my dog over here embarrassing me. Next then we will have AJ.
Ooh, thank you. Hey everybody. What's popping? My name's Rajala, or AJ, whatever you want to call me. But today I just wanted to talk about, I guess, like just experience in I guess allyship. My fault, my cousins are here. But damn, my fault, I lost my train of thought. But I don't know. I just wanted to talk about allyship and just kind of like just where it all comes from. Like to me, how I look at allies, at least up here in Seattle, in my experience, just like where I'm from, like we don't really have like a lot of true allies as far as that, like people who aren't people of color when it comes to dealing with the police, just because of how, I don't know. It's just something about like the white liberals, and it's not just the white liberals up here. It's like pretty much like, all, not all white people, but like the white people who are the problem. But like, it's like sometimes like the people who are trying to be allies, they try to take ownership over kind of like either the movement, or they turn it into something that like shouldn't have been that to begin with. Just to give you like a prime example of that, for example, everybody was like giving Seattle props for like shutting down the East Seattle precinct. First of all, we did not shut that down. They gave it to us. But anyways, like for shutting down the East Seattle precinct over in Capitol Hill. And they called it CHOP and like all these other acronyms. Like, to me, I didn't agree with that because one, there wasn't no plan of action behind that. And then two, it's like, okay, we have the precinct. All the police had to do is relocate. So like, then what? Like, you're not really accomplishing anything. Then two, there's a lot going on in the city, in the neighborhoods, especially within the Black community. And then so I'm not going to speak on that, but as far as like when one of the youth around our ages, his name is Lorenzo. So Lorenzo was shot and he was killed over in Capitol Hill, actually at CHOP, like at the heart of CHOP. And when they did call the police, or when they did try to call the paramedics, like there were so many people there protesting and everything, towards like the paramedics couldn't even get to him. So it was like by the time that they got to him, he was, no longer with this. So it's like movements like that and like people like that who are a part of the bigger problem. I guess like I also want to speak on like movements like ACAB, for example. Like ACAB, I don't agree with that personally. That's just me, just because of how often I deal with the police. Because like, I mean, and I don't want to speak for like all Black males or all Black people that deal with the police on a regular basis, But I will say for myself and the people around me, like they'll be the first people to tell you that not all cops are bad people. We understand that a lot of cops are bad people, but at the same time, it's really just like the asshole cops that are really the bigger problem. And most of the time within our communities, we're not even really worried about the police. We're worried about the police just because there's something going on that, you know, we're not supposed to be doing. And even though we can have our argument to whether it should be legal or not, whether we're doing that activity, at the end of the day, it's not legal. So of course we're going to be worried with the police coming, but then we're also the first community to tell you that we're not worried about the police as well. Because it's like with the police, it's not like they're in our community. They may be patrolling our community, but most of the time these police like don't know us. Half the time we see these police only when there's like an altercation going on or something bad going on. So it's like for the most part, for a majority of your day, you're not seeing the police, interacting with the police. And then so it's like, I don't know, it's just really confusing when it comes to like really doing this work. Cause it's like just like even with you guys talking about the defunding earlier, it's like to me, at least when I was in the midst of it in my little focus groups and everything and meeting with the nonprofits or organizations about defunding the police and what should be done with the money or what should be done with the divestment money, where should it be reinvested? It's like a lot of the time as a community, we didn't have a plan. And then two, it's like we can't really do anything for the community until we are really a community, if that makes sense. And then so it's like, it's just really hard to do this work and really talk about what we need or what should be done differently as far as like the community's role in policing. Because like if you ask me, and I'm only speaking for Seattle, like if you ask me, we're in no position to police ourselves, like ever. Like as far as like right now, we're in no position. And I don't think police are bad. It's just that I think the thing that needs to change with police is really just like the system. So like how you become a police officer, how long it takes to become a police officer, your background, because we could talk about police training all we want, we could talk about police interactions all we want, but at the end of the day, it has to do with the individual and the things that they dealt with in life, and then also the type of people they dealt with in life. So for example, like a cool training, like I haven't looked into the recent training of the Seattle Police Department just because like I'm not really big on statistics anymore. It's either you're gonna fix it or you're not. But as far as the training goes, like if you like the LAPD and the Los Angeles County Sheriffs, what they do is when they train, like they spend, I believe it's like 3 to 6 months or something like that, some extended period of time before they become an actual police officer. After they get the training done and they're about to get the check off, like what they do is they actually spend time in the LA County with these people that they're going to most likely be dealing with on the street, which I feel like something that King County, Seattle, and every city for the most part should like adopt for sure, because you're also going to like, it's going to be a lot different. Like, for example, like if like somebody's wigging on you, or my fault, if somebody's like just being weird towards you, or like it's just like a different interaction than you're used to, most of the time, if you haven't dealt with that, you're just going to react to it, especially out of fear if you haven't dealt with it before. But if you're from the neighborhood or you're from an area where, you know, you deal with these type of people all the time, your first instinct isn't going to be to react, but it's going to see like, what's going on? What can I do for you? Then like, once it's past that point where I can't do anything for you, then it's like, you know, you use your discretion and do whatever you're going to do with whatever the situation is. But I don't know. That's pretty much it on allyship. Like, I think we just need to do a better job of like figuring out kind of like what we need as a community, and then figuring out kind of what are actual steps that we can take to actually make things better. Because like at the same time, it's like with the de-escalation training, right? Like I feel like the United States should look at like the UK, for example. I know the UK doesn't have as many guns as the US and everything as far as citizens go, but I feel like they have a very effective de-escalation protocol that they use, particularly in London. Also, especially when it comes to dealing with a lot of people who have like just like, I don't know the political correct term, so my apologies, just the incorrect one, but like just like mental issues, you know, like people who just like aren't 100% like stable or just able to just function with everybody else. I feel like they have effective protocols for that as well. I feel like police officers oftentimes they go home with their gun in their police car, but I feel like in the US they should probably be required to like turn in their gun at least at the end of their shift so that they don't have their gun outside of just outside of like the clock, outside of work. I think there's like a lot of effective things that we can do that we're also just not talking about enough like within our community, and I don't feel like we're exploring all the actual practical options as far as like, because I feel like it's a lot easier for us to like get a law passed or get something passed to where it's like, okay, police have to check in their guns at this time, or only this amount of police officers can have these guns, or these positions can have guns, versus like us being like, oh, none of the police should be armed, because like no city's going for that, especially like bigger cities such as like Seattle. I know Seattle's not the biggest in New York, but it's still a metropolitan city. So like I feel like we just need to be a lot more practical with where we are and where we live as well.
For sure. I think you brought up so many good points. So I always take notes, like, so I can address each one for when people talk, because I'd be forgetting. But one of the ones I really liked that you said was like the people that are allies sometimes like overstep. I've seen that a lot with like, especially like the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's like, you want all the allies you can get, but at the same time, like, don't overstep to the point where you're trying to like take over or like make decisions. And also, what you said about, shoot, I'm losing my train of thought now. What you said about my brother, that's where I was at. What you said about just changing the whole system of everything, I think that's a really big part of it. And my brother said he agrees. It's not the idea of having police, but the system in which they're trained and screened. There's been plenty of time I've been stopped and let go for no reason at all. And so, yeah, I feel like it does really start with like rebuilding the system with how police work. And I really find it interesting to hear your perspective too, from like the Seattle point of view, because I haven't heard that, where like the police aren't as active there in the community, I think is what you were saying, unless like something bad happens. And like over here, I just like, I'm realizing as you're talking, I feel like I see the police like way more over here than over there, which is surprising because it's like higher crime, like back home. I think, I don't know, Spokane's getting pretty bad now, so that could be a lie. But yeah, I don't know. I see them patrolling like all the time over here. And then at the Carl Maxey Center where I like volunteer sometimes, she was talking about how they really patrol like the poorer Black area out here, which is where the Carl Maxey Center is located. And then they use those stats to say that like those communities have higher crime rates, but it's because they're over patrolling those communities. So I definitely think that's another issue as well. But did anybody else want to add to AJ's points? There were so many, like I said, I feel like I lost my train of thought. So anybody feel free to.
Yeah, I just got a couple things to say. I don't know what part of Seattle he's from. I'm from like the south end, so I'm from like Rainier Beach type stuff. You feel me? And like growing up, I always see police trolling. Rest in peace to my Cuddy Adi. We just had like a thing for him type shit, and the police did their siren whoop, whoop, type shit. We, mind you, this is like, we're doing a scholarship for him, rest in peace. He wanted to go to school to become like a mechanic. And so we're trying to sign up, do like a scholarship for Black men who want to be in that field. Mind you, there was nothing going on. We were just chilling, music fun, and the police are just sitting out the corner looking at us. And you know, it might have been something else, but they were literally sat there until we all left. And like, I always see this growing up, and all the time, every time I went to like Dearborn Park Elementary, there's always police right there because it's predominantly, you know, low income school. I always see the police around the areas where predominantly Black people are. And maybe it's because like there's, you know, higher crime rates over there, but most of the time they're just chilling, waiting to see something. And like, I don't know. I don't know. I just wanted to say that because like, obviously there's two different backgrounds, and like what I went through and what other people went through, they're going to see it differently. But like, I just always see police. Like at 5 years old, I shouldn't see AK-47 pointing at my dad. Like, that's crazy. And mind you, it was a traffic stop in Seattle, Washington. And I was like 5, 6, and I still remember that. That's crazy. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's just like different. No, just different for everybody. And so like, I feel like, yeah, some areas where like police is not going to troll, but there's definitely areas in Seattle where police do troll. And it's just like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. And AJ, did you have something?
Oh no, yeah, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. So to give you guys perspective, I'm from West Seattle. I don't know how familiar you guys are with West Seattle. West Seattle's pretty big. It's also pretty divided. So like there's like Alki where like all the white people lived, and anything pretty much 35th going like south over to Highland Park. That's where like you'll find a lot of the historic black neighborhoods at least. But as far as damn, I forgot what I was going to say. But the damn. Oh yeah, I think another thing we should address. So there's two things. It's like how we deal with the police, because I understand that the community has like a lot of trauma with the police and experiences with the police, especially negative. But at the same time, like a lot of the time it's also dependent on how we address the police as well. Like we don't control the reactions, but to a certain extent with certain police we do. And I feel like with just the community, we should just be a lot more mindful of how we're addressing the police and talking to police. Cause like at the same time, like I can name countless times to where it's like, I'm not gonna name certain groups of people, but like we'll be outside and then the police will be there. And then it's like, it's not like we're scared of police or nothing, but because of negative excuses, my fault. The negative interactions and then the just like with the negative interactions and just the whole stigma with the police, just in general, oftentimes will just be like very negative towards them, just openly without them like even interacting with us. Now, I'm not even saying that's even 10% of us, but at the same time, I feel like when it's one of us, it's still all of us, you know, especially if they don't know us. And then, damn, my fault. I'll probably get back to it. I forgot the other point. But we should just be mindful of how we address the police as well.
Yeah, I feel like I could definitely understand people's frustration. If you've had like so many negative experiences with the police, it's like hard not to view them in a certain way, just like how they had whatever experiences they had with Black people and now they gonna view us in a certain way. So I think it's definitely like relearning how to like interact with the Black community and the police. It's like a sensitive area, especially now that everything's being brought to light. And I think that's another part of fixing things is like rebuilding that relationship. And I like what you said about like really being in the communities that you're trying to work with, because with my job, that's like a big part of everything. Like they really want us to learn who we're helping, and who I'm helping at my job is a lot of poor people of color who, or like low education level, for example. So like we have to have interpreters and different things like that to accommodate to that, because that's the community that we're helping. So I think definitely they need to learn their communities more so that they're not so afraid of things. But also I remembered other points from earlier. The white liberals thing I really like as well, because like liberals are supposed to be like woke and we're supposed to like, you know, understand the issues and this and that. But I feel like a lot of it is a front, especially in Seattle, where like they claim they're liberal and they claim they're for the issues, but they're not really. So I think just having that title of like liberal, for a lot of people, they think that's enough. And I'm just like, no, like, I feel like you're being fake. So I definitely like how you brought that point up also. But AJ, did you remember your other point too?
I did. So also when doing this work, I feel like oftentimes we don't talk to the people who are like, even within the Black community, and I'm only speaking from my perspective being in Seattle, but we don't speak enough to like people and youth that actually deal with the police, if that makes sense. Because it's like one thing for you to be like, okay, this issue affects the Black community, but not every Black person in Seattle deals with the police, especially on a regular basis. Like I know for a fact that students who go to South Shore, which is on Rainier and Henderson, but also live in the Rainier Beach neighborhood, deal with the police a lot more than like somebody who may not live in that area. And then I also know that any like body that's from West Seattle, anybody that lives on Dale Ridge, it's like the precinct is literally like right where all like where the Black neighborhood is. It's like literally like in between, like there's Highland Park, Dale Ridge, and then High Point, and then the police precinct is right in the middle of that. So all they're doing is like patrolling the main streets, and they're on the main street. So I know for a fact that they deal with the police at least on a daily basis, as well as the community as a whole. And then we don't talk enough to the people who also have negative interactions with the police just because of like maybe their profile. So like, for example, gang members. Like, I understand you're a gang member, but at the end of the day, it's like, why wouldn't you talk to the gang members if they're also the ones probably dealing with them the most, like out of the whole community? Like, it's like, I don't know, it's just hella tricky because like I feel like hella people are selective, hella people just like leave people out of just the conversation just because they want to either get a certain agenda across or they want to just like just address the issue in their own type of way and like however they have it in their head. And it's just, I don't know, it's just very dividing and exclusive as well. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, that's a really good point that I never even thought about. Actually talking to the people that deal with the police the most, that's like a simple fix. And it seems like so common sense. But once again, I never even thought of something like that because it's so unheard of, I feel like. And I do hate like the divide within the community as well. Like, I like how you were saying, we need like a direction to go. And I definitely heard that with like your activism point too when you were talking. Because right now it's like we have like all these different like movements going on and like these different ideas, but I feel like we need to like bring them together and actually like take some action on them. And that's what we're stuck on right now. I love the Black Lives Matter movement so much, but I wish it could like consolidate more and like become more of like one thing so that we can actually like really push for change. And I'm hoping one day that does happen, but there's so much divide in the Black community too that it's hard to do one good thing for the Black community when everybody is so divided on how we should approach things really. So yeah, I thought those were really good points also. Anybody else have anything to add to what AJ or anybody was saying right now? No. All right. Well, yeah. Oh, yep. Go.
I do have one last point, my fault. So when it comes to just like the Black community and its issues and everything, like just things going on, I feel like as far as like when we're talking about like at-risk youth or like everybody in the middle, I feel like the biggest way to accomplish that or like the biggest solution would be like one, to change the way we interact with them. And like, cause like when we're already labeling like at-risk youth, I don't even like using that phrase, but I only use it so that people know the group that I'm talking about. But I usually tell people resilient youth. But one, we need to like change the way we address them. And then two, when it comes to giving them opportunities to do like something different, we need to give them like actual like opportunities. Like if we already know that this person isn't eating dinner on a regular basis or isn't going to school because they're dealing with X, Y, and Z, then it's like we need to feel and also exceed what they're lacking, like if that makes sense. Like for example, like I'll use like a drug dealer for example, right? It's like if I'm dealing drugs, I know I'm probably going to go to jail if I get caught up. But if I'm over here if I come from nothing and I'm making at least 3,000 a week or something like that, 3,000 every 2 weeks to keep my expenses, I'm not about to quit that and join this program that's going to give me like $125 stipend that I'm going to like I'm dedicating like probably anywhere from 10 to 25 hours a week to. And then I might be gaining like some morals and principles out of it, but at the end of the day, I still need to live. So it's like we're not affording a lot of our youth like actual reasonable opportunities for them to like really change the direction that they're in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like we could be doing more programs. Like I'm thinking like the Black Panther principles. If we could just incorporate that into everything and really take care of everyone in our community, that would solve so many issues. And I feel like it would really help with the divide because like you said, people are being left out. And a lot of the times it is like the at-risk group and it's not even their fault. And it's like crazy because I've had this conversation with my dad before. And he's like a Black man, but at the same time, he feels like people that are in that at-risk group, they do it to themselves and this and that. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm sure like everybody makes their own choices, but there are certain factors that lead people to these things and it's set up really unfairly. And it just surprises me that he wouldn't, see that being a Black man himself who did grow up in a poor area. But yeah, so I think that's definitely a good point. Did anybody else have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I had a couple. Like, I'm a mentor to a couple of at-risk youth, quote unquote, kids here in Spokane and two in Seattle. And they always tell me, like, they pull random people in that have no, like, sense of background that makes sense. They never been through the struggle. They never did this. And so, like, and they expect these kids to listen to them. But, like, you can't just do that. You can't just pull in, let's say, a white person from a suburban area and then have a Black kid from a really low income area, have them be mentors and mentees. Like, that doesn't work like that. You need someone with the experience and the background who, you know, actually been through it or had children that had been through, like, somebody. You can't just be pulling random people to actually mentor these kids, because it's not going to work like that. And then they get mad at the kids because they're not listening. Well, you're not listening to them. They're trying to give you what they need. They're trying to tell you what they need, and you're not taking it from them. And sometimes, yes, these kids would, you know, we're offering them help, but, like, it's not the help that they need, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely does. And you guys remind me of a point that my mentor was making. I'm really glad that he pulled me up, because he is the one that, like, gave me all these opportunities. And he was just saying the reason he does that is because somebody did that for him. His life was, like, going super, like, you know, in a not great direction. And then all it took was that one person, like you're saying, Z, that he could relate to. And that's what he wants to be for so many people for his old neighborhood, is someone that they'll actually listen to, because he knows, like, what they're going through. Like, anything that they've been through, he already knows. So, like, I think it really does take someone who knows the community, once again, to solve these issues, for sure. Anybody else want to add to those points? All right. Well, I was going to say too, just on the topic of, like, bringing people up, because, you know, we're talking about mentors and stuff. I think, like, a lot of people don't think about how they can bring other people up, because, you know, I have some friends, and I was like, oh, I want to introduce you to this person and this person. And they're like, oh, I already know about them. And, like, it's like these really influential people that I feel like would be good for making change in the Black community are, like, you know, what I'm trying to do for, like, making policy change and stuff like that. But we don't think to, like, be like, oh, this person is trying to do this, let's introduce them to this group. So I think it's really important to bring people up with us. And I think it's easier when you have been, like, marginalized, to do that, because you want to help everyone, because you haven't been heard and stuff like that. But that's just one other point I want to say, is, like, we have to make sure we bring everybody up and don't just think about what we need and stuff like that. So yeah, that was the last point I wanted to make. And then anybody else have any last things to add about police brutality? We could talk about, like, you know, personal experiences, or personal, like, even just with police bias. Like, I know my brother, like he said in the chat, he's had, like, a couple experiences also in Marysville, that area, more predominantly white, so it's more likely to happen out there. But I don't even like saying that no more, because being out here in Marysville don't even seem that white no more to me. This showed me a new side. But yeah, any other last points on police brutality? No.
I think Serenity speaking. I just think it's really important to like what you guys were talking about with recognizing different groups and how, like, they experience police and how it can be different. Because I just think it gets really annoying when you're trying to explain, like, some people are living on, like, survival, and some people are living, like, comfortably through life and just can't really see other sides of it, and try to picture themselves in another person's shoes. So, and then, like, talking about how youth experience the police, because yeah, like, maybe the police officer is acting a certain type of way towards a different population, but every time he comes around youth, he feels like he needs to pick on them or whatever. Like, it's not always your experience, and that becomes, like, the main problem, where people can't like imagine another person's experience and think that it just can't be real, because that's not what they've been through. So
Yeah, for sure. I think that definitely goes with, like, empathy. Like, you just have to empathize with people. And I wish my cousin was here, because she's had a few experiences growing up in Marysville. My mom took us out of Marysville because she had so many bad experiences there with, like, racism and everything like that. And then we ended up moving back there. But she took us, like, she didn't have us grow up there, basically. And my cousin growing up there has had a lot of experiences, like even just driving home from her homecoming, she's been harassed by police out there. And it's like she's over here like staying late to clean up because she's in what's that group? I don't even remember. Leadership. She's in leadership and she's like staying to clean up. And then on the way home, she's told me about times that they were harassing her, like, why are you out so late? And she's like in her homecoming crown, out an outfit, and she's like, I just came from a dance. Like, what do you mean? And yeah, so she's had that experience. And then she's also said when she's got pulled over with her white friend who was driving, the police officer would like talk to her white friend a lot differently and address her white friend a lot differently than they would address my cousin. And I think also what comes into play with this like bias in the police is like colorism, because my cousin, I know has a darker complexion than me, and she's had like all of these experiences. And I personally, I've had like slight biases, but I've never had anything to the extent that she's had, or that I've heard like my brother has or other people have. So I definitely think colorism comes into play with like this police bias. And we've already talked about colorism before, but once again, one of those topics that's always relevant. So yeah, it's just, I don't know, even still talking about all of these issues with the police brutality, it's like we're talking about all these ways we can fix things. But once again, it feels like just doing all these little fixes won't solve the root problem. Like we really have to get to the root problem of this. And I think that comes with like rebuilding a lot of these institutions. And the last thing I wanted to bring up was that even our Supreme Court, I don't know if you guys saw that, has recognized that racism is embedded in a lot of the systems that we have. Like they put out a statement that was basically saying like, we recognize that racism is still embedded into like this and this and that. And like, that was a big deal for them to do, because, you know, they would never admit that before. But just even them saying that shows that these are issues. And so it's crazy that people still try to deny that or deny people's experiences. Like, if you don't want to listen to us, then listen to the Supreme Court then, because they're saying like this is an issue still. And so I think with that being said, like I really like the approach that you took, AJ, for like the solutions, which is like, you know, coming together to figure out what that is that we need fixed for this issue. So yeah. Anybody else have any last things before we wrap up? Thank you guys for a good topic. It was a good conversation. No. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.